Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Press Play Lifestyle Inspired podcast, which is a podcast that does interviews with people like Joni on topics that help our listeners, that's you, find the resources, tools, and support they need to be their best inspired self. So, hi, Joni, how are you?
Hey, nice to be here.
Well, thank you. It's a little late in the day for me. I'm like going to give me my energy back before I go home by having a fun conversation. So, thanks.
You're welcome. It is 9 a.m. over here on the day ahead of you.
So where are you? Where are you at?
So I'm based in Melbourne in Australia.
See, I love Australian people. So I didn't even know for sure that was what I heard in your voice. I had an au pair once from South Korea that left us and went to Australia for her
Yeah.
second year. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from the same melting pot. I'm originally from Belgium and ended up here. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So what got you there from where you were?
Oh, the elusive search for happiness.
Oh.
And I thought that if I go to a warm country where everyone is fit and healthy, then I'm going to be fit and healthy and happy.
How's that working out for you?
Well, yeah, I realized soon after landing here that all my baggage came with me, which is partly what set me on this journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So I think a lot of us, what do they find every master was once a mess, right? So we get through our mess and then we figure out how to help other people through their mess.
Exactly.
So would you like to do just like a brief intro and let people know who you are and what you're doing so they kind of have a context of that?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Joni Seeto, and I'm a coach and hypnotherapist, and I really specialize in helping women who have been dieting for many years, and I help them feel better about food and better about their body without dieting.
Oh, so everyone needs you. And then like that's all. We don't even need to talk about. No, I'm just kidding. So how long have you been sort of doing this with people?
Yeah, it's been about 2 years now. I had a very different career before. I was working for 10 years in the finance industry, and this is obviously something that I struggled with myself. And I guess I had mostly always done the perfectly acceptable, socially acceptable path, and going to a good uni, get a good career, and I guess outwardly or on paper, everything was really perfect, but inside I was just kind of a bit of a mess, and trying to eat perfectly and look perfect in front of everyone else, and then only to go home at night and stress eat behind closed doors and just binge on copious amounts of food. Always trying to diet and then fall off the wagon later, as you call it, and I guess I never really realized that it was a thing. I just thought this was my own little thing that I had with food, my own little issue. But when I finally kind of started opening up about it on social media, I created a brand new Instagram account and just kind of started writing as if no one was reading, but people were reading. And after a while, I just started getting messages from women reaching out to me and going, "Oh my God, I do that too." And that's when I kind of realized I wasn't the only one, and I wanted to start sharing more and start helping more people. So that was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm a very non-traditional entry here too. I was a software developer for about 20 years. My husband is a CPA, and I had a struggle, and I made it through my struggle, and it sort of led me on my second journey toward helping others. So I think that I see a lot of coaches who made it through their mess, or at least are you only really need to be a step ahead of the person you're helping, right? So and I don't know if you said obviously you struggle, but I don't know if we would say that. We can't, first of all, we can't see much more than your pretty smiling face, but I think that it's great that you've kind of made it through a few steps and gives you an opportunity to help other people who are still kind of not quite where you're at on the mindset side, because I think it's all upstairs, right? Like once you can get that stuff together, the rest of it falls into place.
Yeah.
Harder than you think, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's hard alone, I think. That's the thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think specifically when it comes to emotional eating and binge eating, it's, I mean, there's obviously many issues that come with a lot of shame, but especially I feel like especially binge eating and emotional eating comes with a lot of shame, because in society there's just this kind of common knowing that, oh well, if you want to lose weight, just go on a diet and exercise and you'll be skinny, right? And it's just so assumed that it is easy, and that people who can't achieve that are lazy and have no willpower and no self-control. And
Mm.
so that's when no one ever speaks up about it, that they're actually struggling. And you just keep going from diet to diet or to new gym to new gym. And when you realize, when you can't stick to the program, no one ever asks for help, because you just put all the blame on yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it breaks my heart. Like I have daughters, so I have 4 kids, and two of them are daughters. And my oldest is only 14, but she's already taller than I am. And so she's just tall. Like that's it. She's tall. She plays basketball. She was volleyball. She's playing all these sports, but she's tall. And her other friends are still 13 small, and she's 14 tall. And she's already like saying things, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you're perfectly beautiful. Like she's beautiful. She's fit, she's strong. But we just pass this down from our, like what we say about ourselves in front of our children, they hear too. It's not just that negative talk doesn't just affect us. Um so I try to be more mindful of what I say out loud, but I probably are still saying some of those things behind closed doors, I suspect.
Yeah, but it's so innate and it's so ingrained in our society, so I wouldn't, feel too bad about about it. We're all human, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't think I
Yeah.
beat myself up too much. My husband, on
Mm.
the other hand, can just drop 100 pounds like by blinking. So it's just like, what are you doing? So you have this really neat, like a trademark sort of, or a brand that you're working on that I'd love to hear more about, called Weightless.
Mm.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So Weightless is my program and community that I'm building really for women who have a long history of chronic dieting and not feeling good in their skin, and who might struggle with binge eating or emotional eating. And it's a program I take them to really help them dig deeper into what it is that is truly causing the issue, because even insecurity about our bodies or even emotional eating are still just symptoms of a deeper kind of insecurity. And what I've kind of realized on this journey and this path of really looking for answers is that it all very much starts much earlier than I ever thought it would, but it really starts in the early formative ages, before we're even 7 years old, where we kind of get to a place of, or kind of create beliefs about ourselves that we're not enough and that we're not worthy. And then many women, especially if you grow up in a family where weight was an issue, or body image was an issue, you kind of then around the age of 7, sort of when we switch from the emotional mind over to the conscious mind and the conscious mind comes online, suddenly the mind sort of looking around in the world and going, why is it that I don't feel good about myself? And then you look around or you hear your mom complaining about her tummy and you're like, oh, well, that must be why I don't feel good enough. Okay, so if I go on a diet and become skinny, then I'll feel good about myself. And so that kind of kickstarts this whole journey. And so in the Weightless community, I really kind of dig into much deeper into that with women, and help them work on their self-worth, their specific kind of personality types, and kind of core beliefs that they created about themselves in childhood, and then help them heal their relationship with food and with their body. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, that sounds like a beautiful change to help someone go through, to accept themselves for everything that's them, because they, it all matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really rewarding. Even just last week, one of the ladies in there just kind of posted a message and said, "Oh my God, I finally realized there was never anything wrong with me."
Oh,
And they, and all these years, I thought there was something so wrong with me. And now I realize no one ever taught me to love myself.
oh, I feel like
Um,
crying. That's so sad. And happy all at once. Yeah, that's
yeah.
oh, geez. Oh, one of those days, I guess. So what is rapid transformational therapy?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So that's a form of hypnotherapy that I've come across in recent months. It was created by a lady named Marissa Peer, who's one of the UK's top therapists, and it really is a combination of therapy and hypnosis that helps people really get to the root of any issue. So the way it works is that in a session we go back under hypnosis, which is, and hypnosis is not like, the kind of
Nobody's
clucking chickens
chuckling.
that you see on the stage and stuff. Yeah, no, it's just a really kind of nice, deep, relaxed state, which allows you to kind of open up the access to the subconscious mind, which is great because it means that in a session I'll just ask you questions, but it's your subconscious mind which is responding, and that's the part of the mind that really knows all the answers, even when consciously we don't remember. And
It's sort of like facilitated meditation, kind of.
yeah, in a sense, and it kind of helps people go back to the original memories when they created these beliefs about themselves, and it also helps you kind of access the emotions that you felt in those moments, because very often all of the stuff that happens to us in our life today, right, is really just us getting triggered by all the emotions, and so we go back to those moments and really get a true understanding of the roots and the reason why you created this issue or why you're struggling with something. And it's that understanding that really helps people just free themselves permanently from it, rather than continuously applying band-aids over old problems, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's like we do what we know how to do, right?
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly.
So and it
Yeah.
allows us maybe to find a new way or a new path or a new answer if we're aware that there's a problem, even, right? That, like, I think it's kind of, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and the reason I love it so much is because, I mean, there's so many situations in our life where we're just like, I want to do this thing, right? And you're so, like, consciously, you're like so determined to do something, but you keep self-sabotaging for a reason or another, and sometimes you just don't know why. And this kind of helps you get to the source of that and really and become less emotional about things. And the fascinating thing is that most of the time it's not even this like big trauma or anything that happened. I mean, obviously, there's
It is to
situations.
them, right? But
Yeah, no, exactly. There's absolutely situations where people have had traumatic experiences in their childhood, and the fascinating thing about those situations is that, when a child experiences something really traumatic, they never realize this is maybe an adult doing
weird.
something they shouldn't be doing, or they always just assume it's because there's something wrong with them. But it could even be the tiniest thing. Like, I was working with a client, and she really wasn't feeling worthy of love, and kind of, I guess, intimately shutting herself off. And it all came back to a moment when she was 2 years old, where she was crying in her nap, like had a wet nappy, crying out for her dad, and that just wasn't coming. And in that moment, she
Like, nah.
decided
Yeah.
she wasn't worthy of love. And so it's, yeah, so I love helping people realize, kind of come to those realizations, and the moment you kind of notice that, it clicks, and it's just like, okay, that wasn't worth ruining my life over. Okay, let's try something different now.
I remember I had a friend of mine that she was a caregiving consultant. So she worked with people who helped like take care of their elderly parents and she wasn't hurt, but she was violated, right? At like her space was violated. And it really became this deep-seated trauma for her. And a lot of people around her were like, well, that's not that big of a thing. It kind of like, it almost like every single time someone would dismiss her, it was re-injuring. And now she's in all kinds of therapy now, like she's in her 40s. And it was as much over people belittling her, how important it was in her life, as it was the event itself. And so that's why I try really hard never to think that someone else's pain is just not the same or worse or better. It's all pain. It's all
pain.
Pain.
Absolutely.
Pain sucks, right? Yeah. I mean, it has a purpose to have you not do that again, right? But yeah. So I love hearing that too, that there's, you don't know what the thing was that made you not feel loved or worthy or important or worth existing, but it's still damaging. And having someone who's trained sort of help walk you through that can open up an opportunity to live your life not weighed down by that. The weight word. Ooh.
Yeah, that's why it's called Weightless.
It's nice. So let's see. I took notes. I'm just looking over. Actually, we covered a whole lot of that. So I kind of asked, so what makes what you do different than what other emotional eating or other health coaches might do? Like, how are you different?
Yeah, I think a lot of people assume that if they struggle with weight or they struggle with dieting, they just kind of need to look at the food. But I guess my philosophy is that food or the eating is simply a symptom of something that's going on a little deeper than that. And typical diets, mainstream diets, just kind of tell you what to do, but they never help you understand that there's actually a reason why you're eating. So that's kind of what I help people with, is digging deeper into why they're eating and becoming more mindful of why it is that they're turning to food, sometimes in moments of comfort, but sometimes also if you've been under eating chronically for 20 years, then your body wants food, and that is okay. That is nothing to feel ashamed about. So yeah, that's sort of what makes me different from a typical kind of diet that you go on, is that we look much deeper than the food. And I think my clients always laugh, because after maybe 6 or 7 weeks they'll be like, we still haven't spoken about food. Like, but yet there's all of these things changing. So yeah,
that's awesome though. It sounds like you have a great opportunity for women to kick the diet out of the way and just deal with the real stuff.
Yeah. And I think it's important that we raise a little bit more awareness about that if you've been doing this for 20 years, if you've been dieting on and off for 20 years, and then another diet isn't going to help you. It's really a kind of deeper mindset change and a deeper look under the hood that's needed.
Yeah. Why do you think people continue to, like, if they went on a diet? I'm a great example. I'm sure there's a lot. So we went on this like beach body thing. We had to eat a bunch of powder, which just is stupid because it tastes like crap. And then that didn't work because it was powder. And then my husband decided to go on a keto diet, which was not good for me. I gained like 80 pounds in like a month, and he dropped like 60. It was late.
Yeah.
And now he's lost it all because he's like, keto doesn't work now. He
Yeah.
went to something else. And I'm like, can we not go on any more diets? Because I'm just, but why do we keep going back to, like, do we just all hope that there's some magic like pill formula food that's just going to make it all go away? Or like, it's like repeating the same thing. It seems kind of insane.
Yeah. Humans have really short memories, but also it really kind of gets ingrained into us by the weight loss industry that, oh, if you just do this one thing, you're going to have abs in 6 weeks and all your problems will be solved. And you know, they are really good at what they do. They're really good at their marketing. They've got psychologists on the boards doing all the marketing, and they know how to play on us, on the human insecurity. And I think body confidence really has nothing to do at all with what your body actually looks like. It's mostly about how we view the body. And that's why so many people actually, even the ones who are who successfully, and I'm putting my air quotes here, successfully lose weight, even people who maybe get to their goal weight still don't feel like they're happy once they get there. Because even the weight loss doesn't bring what we're truly looking for, which is self-acceptance. But yeah, the thing with dieting especially is that it's not necessarily very sustainable for the body, which is why not many of us actually manage to keep the weight off, because it's just not what our bodies want to do. But this kind of cycle of dieting, especially if you've been doing it for many years, what it's really done to us is that it's made us forget what our bodies truly want, because you're so used to starting to think about food, right? You're constantly thinking, oh, well, I have 217 calories left for the day, or I've got 50 grams of carbs, or like you're just thinking about food rather than actually checking in with your body and see, does this actually work for me?
That's
Yeah.
interesting because I noticed and I'm not dieting, and I refuse to let my husband let us diet anymore. But one of the things I didn't know was because I like my blood pressure, all my vital signs are good, but I'm very sensitive to sodium. So like I drank a diet soda a while back, just one, and my feet poofed up. And I was like, whoa. I just thought, so before I just thought I was really poofy because, I was eating a lot or something. But if I eat a lot of salt, I retain a lot of water and my clothes don't fit and I feel like, and I retain a lot of water really fast. And so I was like, wow, well, maybe I should eat less like hot dogs because they're salty, and maybe a little less of the so I cut back. I was drinking a lot of soda. Now once in a while I have one because I like it, I enjoy it. I still know it's bad for me, but even one and my rings don't fit. I mean, it's kind of like, oh, so tuning back into like, oh, I get up earlier now. I get up at 5. At 10:30 I'm hungry, and I'm like, oh, it's not lunchtime. I'm like, wait a minute, you've been up for like 3 more hours than normal. You can eat, right? Like you're hungry.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like learning how to even know what your body's talking about anymore. It's 40 years into
Exactly.
learning it. I'm like 43 and I just started going, oh, that means I'm hungry. My stomach hurts. It's kind of an
Yeah.
odd thing.
No, and I love that you noticed that. Yeah, and I think the big difference is when you're no longer judging yourself for the way you're eating or the way you look, then you can actually start paying attention to those kind of symptoms and just kind of make that connection of like, oh yeah, when I eat ice cream, then the next day my tummy doesn't feel so good. Oh, that doesn't mean I'm a bad human being. It just, I've learned something new about my body.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's really empowering, and it shifts the power back to kind of intrinsic motivation than external guidance, which is typically most diets are all this kind of externally guided thing. And I often kind of fact check with my husband, because he's never struggled with food at all. So he's got a very normal, again, healthy relationship with food. And so I kind of asked him, so when you try new foods, or because he goes to one of these fancy gyms now, and they kind of definitely try to put him on some sort of food plan. I was like, okay, so when they give you this food plan, right, what do you do? And he's like, okay, well, yes, they told me here, but this kind of carb, something. And he's like, what I will do is actually, I'll keep eating that and notice, and then I'll pay attention to whether indeed what they're saying is true, whether I can feel that in my body. And then if I agree, then I'll change. Whereas for most of my life, I would just pick up a diet book, read the entire thing, and go, oh yes, I totally believe this science. Absolutely. This sounds so convincing. I'm going to do all of this now, but without fact checking with my own body. So I feel like that's the true difference.
Yeah, I could see that work being true, because I have 4 kids, and my husband and I, and all 6 of us enjoy different foods, and our bodies are completely different, right? I have a daughter on the autism spectrum. For a really long time, she only ate like 6 things, and we thought, oh my gosh, she's gonna have all these deficiencies. She's fine now. She eats everything, She had a lot of pickles for a while. They were getting worried about the sodium levels, right? But she's not gonna, we're not gonna starve ourselves, right, if left to do what our body tells us to do. It's when we don't listen, right? So I mean, a big one for me is I used to always think I was hungry, but 99% of the time I'm just dying. I'm thirsty. I'm super thirsty, but I could literally not tell. It'd been that long since I'd paid attention.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of our bodies are sort of in charge, right? Like if we let them
Yeah.
be, and we all need different things, the book's not gonna cut it for all of us, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's one of the things that I really work on with people, is kind of empowering them to become their own expert again. So stop listening to all the other experts, because most other experts just take what works for them and apply that onto your body. And so it's really about empowering people to make their own choices. And so yeah, the program Weightless isn't necessarily an easy thing to do.
It's simple but not easy, right?
Yeah. But it really teaches people to get back in charge of their own life choices. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to kind of share with the audience before we wrap up today?
Well, I recently did a really, really cool challenge that I hosted in my Facebook group, which I called it the Body Confidence Challenge. And I think if people are listening that have been that are resonating with this, that have been struggling with food and with body for many, many years, then they're gonna love this. So I will share the link with you that you can put in the notes, in the show notes. But it's a 5-day challenge. It's really fun and very transformative, actually, for the people who've done it. So that would be a great place to start if you want to learn how to embrace your body, and let go of dieting and social conditioning.
That is awesome. Well, thank you, Joni, so much for getting up so early on the other side of the world and spending time with us. And I hope that our listeners do find, if they're challenged with emotional eating or binge eating, or just feeling like they don't belong in their skin, that they know that there's a resource that they can go to that understands it and is, a couple steps ahead.
Cool. Well, thanks for the chat. I really enjoyed meeting you today.
Nice meeting you too. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.